Hey everybody, I want to spend a few minutes talking to you about our podcast process. So we get questions all the time about how we record our podcast. And there are a lot of different ways to do some of this stuff, but I just want to share with you some things that we've learned about our process that might be helpful. So we're going to break it up into three aspects of the overall process. One is the tooling, so the gear that you need in order to pull all this off. And then the second is the recording process, how we go about recording our podcast episodes and the individual microphones that go in to make up the components of the podcast. And then third, we'll talk about the processing that we do in post-production to edit it and put it all together. For this video, I'm using the Earthworks ICON microphone, and this is a microphone that's kind of purpose-built for podcasting and live streaming and broadcasting. So it's got an extremely fast transient response. There's a top-end quality to it that I find really pleasing and useful. And it's a beautiful microphone. And so if you're looking for a good podcast mic, this would be a really good choice. There are other good mics out there, though, to use for voiceovers and podcasts. And so you can start with something that you already have or choose something like the Icon if you're looking for a new mic. So let's get started. So what gear do we need other than a good microphone? Well, obviously, we're going to be recording to a computer. We also need an audio interface to get from the microphone to the computer. Now, sometimes you may have a USB mic that will plug directly into your computer, so you can bypass the need for an interface. But if you're in an environment that has multiple people sitting around a table and you have 4 or 5 microphones and you're doing a discussion, you'll need an interface with enough inputs to accommodate those microphones. So make sure that your interface can accommodate the number of microphones that you need. In this case, I'm using the SSL 2 Plus. It's SSL's USB audio interface. And so let's go ahead and set up our gear so that we can basically make sure we're getting our signal into our computer. So I have the interface plugged into the computer. That's obviously step one, so that my computer can see this as an audio input. And that just connects via USB-C from the out of the interface into the USB-C port on the computer. That's simple enough. And then there are some controls on the interface that are really important. I've got the microphone cable plugged into channel 1, input number 1 of this 2-channel interface. Now I know that this microphone requires phantom power. So I have a phantom power, a plus 48 volts button here to apply phantom power to the microphone. So my gain knob is down, so I'll go ahead and engage phantom power. The 0 light on the interface blinks 4 times so that I know that phantom power is sending. Now I just need to set the gain of my microphone. So you'll see there's an LED input of the channel strip here. So I'm just going to turn up the gain until I get basically to -20 and then maybe peaking at -10. So again, in that -15 to -12 range is kind of where I want to be on the interface. Now, that happens to be right around noon with this gain knob. If I go too high, obviously we're going to clip. I don't want to see any zeros because that's bad news in digital recording. So I want to be able to have my gain with plenty of headroom so that if I have some plosives in my speaking that maybe need to be mitigated, it's not going to overload the input of the channel on the interface. Now, this particular interface has this 4K button. And what this does is basically enables some EQ and some console magic from the SSL 4000 series console. And so I figure, hey, if SSL is going to give me the option to add some of that 4K console functionality and sound into my recording, I'm definitely going to have that in. So you see the 4K light lights up, and so I know that that 4K mode is engaged. There's a monitor here, so if I'm connected to external speakers, that'd be where my volume control is, and headphone volume as well. I'm not wearing headphones for this because I don't need to hear anybody else for today's recording, but that's where I would monitor what's going in and out of my digital audio workstation.